I am Pragya and I bring to you excerpts from the current issue of Outlook, titled India That is Bharat. It looks at the ongoing state elections as a critical test of unity between the Congress and its allies in the India coalition and whether the opposition combined can take on the might of the BJP in the elections 2024. The overlap section of Outlook looks at the prejudice of the Western democracies on Israel and Gaza issue. Global Prejudice by Seema Guha from Outlook. The response of Western democracies to civilian killings in Ukraine and that of Palestinians in Gaza has exposed their double standards. The moral high ground that the US and Western democracies took while chastising Russian President Vladimir Putin for sending his army to Ukraine in February 2022 is strangely missing when it comes to close ally Israel and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's response to the Hamas onslaught on Israel last month. Granted, 1,400 people, mostly civilians, were killed, and over 200 people, including children and old people, were taken hostage in the surprise attack. But Israel's response, carpet bombing of the Gaza Strip, killing nearly 10,000 civilians, 40% of them children, is being accepted without question. The West's high moral principles have gone out of the window. Israel has broken all international rules of war with impunity. Civilians in the Gaza Strip have no place to hide. Nothing is off limits for the Israeli Air Force, be it schools, ambulance services, hospitals, mosques, civilian housing, or even the UN-sponsored refugee camps as the only one in Nabila. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has said that Gaza is turning into a graveyard for children and called for a ceasefire. The world watched with respectful silence as Yoav Gallant, Israel's defense minister, said at the start of the operations, "I have ordered a complete siege of the Gaza Strip. There will be no electricity, no food, no fuel, everything is closed. We are fighting human animals and we are acting accordingly." Writing in The Guardian, Mustafa Bayoumi, writer and professor, had this to say about Gallant's words. Let's be clear, Gallant's language is not the rhetoric of deterrence, it's the language of genocide. The plight of over 2 million residents trapped in Gaza is not just turning global opinions against Israel, but the double standards of the US and its allies are getting exposed, especially in the global south. If the Russian invasion of Ukraine had divided the world into two camps, the current action in Gaza has further amplified the chasm and exposed the different standards that Western democracies apply when it comes to civilian killings in Ukraine and that of Palestinians in Gaza. The responses to the two wars by the West are starkly different. Biden had termed the Russian missile attacks on Ukrainian cities as barbaric and referred to Moscow's action as crimes against humanity. Yet, no such language is used when Gaza City is destroyed and civilians killed. This has reinforced the view of the West's hypocrisy. The New York Times quoted Hannah Knott, an analyst at the Center of Strategic and International Studies, as saying, "There is a perception that the West cares more about Ukrainian refugees, about Ukrainian civilian suffering, than we do when they are suffering in Yemen, in Gaza, in Sudan, in Syria." That has often been the view of the developing countries, and there are numerous examples starkly brought out when Ukrainian refugees were welcomed all across Europe with open arms because they were like us, while those from Afghanistan, Syria, and other places had little public sympathy because they were non-white, non-Christian. For this and more, read the current issue of Outlook.